Hey everyone, super excited today. We have Nicole Cooper, who is one of our students in our 6 month small group program. And she's a baller. She is a full time teacher and she's doing wholesaling on the side. And she is legitimately crushing it on the side of her career. And so I thought it would be fun to have the opportunity to interview her live and just have you guys hear her experience and how she's going about managing her life, her time, and learning alongside still having a career. And just for those of you that are watching who might not know who I am, I'm Tiffany High. I'm business partners with my husband, Josh High. We own results driven education company. And we also do wholesaling, flipping, and own a rental portfolio here in Columbus, Ohio, and Kansas City. You know, we do around, say, $4.5 million in real estate a year, and we also educate on all of our processes and how we operate within our programs. So I'm super excited. Nicole has more than impressed me, beyond impressed me the last few months. So do you want to bring her up, Aiden? What's going on, girl?
Hey, how you guys doing?
I'm good. I just did a little bit of an introduction on who you are and what you got going on. But I would love for you to go into your own intro on how long you've been a teacher, when did you get into real estate, why did you get into real estate, and we'll just go from there.
Sure. So I've been teaching for about 13 years. You guys can hear me, see me? I'm good?
Yep.
Awesome. I've been teaching about 13 years. I've always been in love with real estate. I bought my first rental property probably about 8 years ago. And just kind of got hooked right away. We started house hacking and started growing from there. Bought my second rental property probably about 4 years ago. And then during COVID, we were home teaching from home. I was bored. I'm a doer. I'm constantly, my brain's constantly going. I can't really sit still, even if I'm sitting on the couch. And, started looking into some real estate education programs. And am I allowed to say the other program? I don't know. You know how that goes.
What for?
So I started with Fortune Builders. I joined
Oh, okay.
Fortune Builders.
Yeah, I used to be in Fortune Builders back in the day.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that drew me to you guys, knowing that you had a base.
So is that how you found me on Fortune Builders, or was it through something else?
No, it was through a friend. A
Okay.
friend of mine found you guys online on social media, and
Oh yeah, you told me this story.
and
Yep.
connected me, and I was looking at a couple of other programs. So I started with Fortune Builders, kind of got a good base, and then started during COVID flipping houses, and just fell in love with it instantly. Was doing great on the houses we were getting, but I had no base. And by base, I mean really systems. I had no processes that would enable me to scale, would enable me to grow to the point where I wanted to be, because ultimately I want to leave teaching. I love the kids, but there's a lot in my life that doesn't include teaching, and that's kind of where I prefer to be. So we started growing a little bit and getting bigger, and my life got kind of eaten up with time. So I've probably been working about 16 hours a day, at least the last 2.5 years since we started in June 2020. And, I'm a go-getter. So ride or die, I'm going to make it work. And we kept going and going and going. And we've done some really phenomenal deals. And then I was hitting a point where I was just not getting leads. And I'm like, we need to, if I want to build, if I want to grow, if I want to be able to leave teaching, I need to see consistency. I need to see results. And I need to be able to be confident that I'm not only going to be able to cover my teaching salary and my pension, but that I'm going to see the consistency that enables me to kind of take over the security of teaching. And so I guess a few months back, I started looking for kind of the next step. Fortune Builders was great, a little beginner, it was good for beginning. And I wanted the next step. I wanted to take this to a whole nother level and be able to really implement systems and processes that would be able to enable me to leave teaching. And so I started looking, found a couple of other programs, and my friend was like, dude, You are super analytical. You are super scientific. You have to just to check out Tiffany and Josh High before you make this decision. They are all into analytics and numbers. And it's all about, the science. It's the science of sales. And I'm a science teacher. So I am like absurdly analytical. And I checked you guys out and jumped on a call and I just was like, these guys are the real deal. And Josh sealed the deal, came in. And since I joined you guys, I mean, like, just opened up a whole new world. I am super incredibly grateful to you guys. I'm like, just like, you guys are unbelievable. You really create the individualized platform that I was looking for. And, we've developed the systems, we developed the processes. I hired my first acquisitions manager, W-2 employee.
Oh, nice.
Stoked. Yeah.
Did they start yet?
It's not on Monday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it the person we talked about?
I can't remember which one we talked about. I think we talked about two of them. But it's I think he's going to be a good fit. He's phenomenal on the phone, and
awesome.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to be a good culture fit.
So what is the difference between what you were doing a couple years ago, like when you started picking up rehabs, to what you've been now doing since you've been in the program? Like, what have you shifted and focused your energy on improving and adding on to the business?
So teams, right? Building teams, building systems, and enabling. I think not being scared to take risks and not being scared to do what I have to do to build a business, to know where to spend my money and how to spend my money, to get the returns. You guys give really phenomenal, detailed analysis of different areas of marketing, different areas of everything that you can do, how much it's going to cost, and what's going to be a return on investment, enabling us to make really educated decisions, statistical based decisions. And that's what we're doing. We're just kind of going at it and marketing in different ways and more consistency. And instead of just going, it's about kind of doing it the same every time, creating a process, sticking to the process, and not letting down, and building the team so that I can step back from that portion of it.
So you're a teacher by day, you're doing all of this on top of that. Now you're getting ready to hire someone. And ultimately, by the way, guys, she is a teacher in New York, and she's definitely got six figures in her queue. And so just imagine like what you're capable of doing. I know a lot of people here watching. I'm sure there's people watching this that are in the same shoes, like whether you're a teacher, you're working somewhere. And I'm just a big proponent. And I know that ultimately you're making a business out of this. You're going to build a team, you're progressing forward. But I also don't want to lose track of the people watching this that maybe are not in real estate yet. And I've been this big advocate my whole life of like, you can do a flip, you can buy a rental, you can do these things on top of your career. And it's really up to you if it's like, hey, this is supplemental income, or I want to actually make a business of this. And they're two totally different strategies. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people that are doing it on top of their career, if you have the mindset of I am going to make this a business, you have to start taking action that's going to get you there. And too often we overanalyze every single move along the way. And then we just never actually do the actions because we're overthinking every single thing that goes into this. And so what made you, like, what drove you when COVID hit and you started realizing I want to flip houses, I want to do all this, to say, okay, I'm actually going to make something of this? Was it because you saw the money? Was it because, like, what was it that said, I'm going to do this?
I don't know. I mean, the money is a major component. I'm definitely driven by money for sure. In general, in life, one of the major downfalls to teaching, even though in New York we're probably one of the highest paid teachers in the country, and our pension is sick. not enough for me. I want to have a huge kitchen, and be able to give my family everything that they want one day. And, I work really hard, and I know my intelligence is capable of a higher salary. So, so that's definitely one thing. And then you kind of do one house and you see the income, and it's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is possible. I can make my entire salary in 1 month, or in one house that, I'm not going to get paid for maybe 5 months, but 1 month worth of work or 2 months worth of work. And if we could do this once a month, and it started out great, even 2 a year. I mean, I'm tripling my salary from teaching, and now we're at 2 to 3 a month, since we've joined you guys. So it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think like one thing that's really important to hear from Nicole, and like I've been gravitating to you since like literally the moment I met you on Zooms and everything, because I can tell the difference between an action taker and someone that like thinks that they're going to be successful but doesn't take the action. And the one thing I've always appreciated about how you approach working with us is you ask questions. You take the initiative to reach out, ask the questions, get in front of whatever it is you need to move the needle forward. And I'm really big about educating everyone around me that if you want something big, small, medium, it doesn't matter. Maybe you just want like a pizza tonight. Like it doesn't matter what it is, but if you don't take the action every single day and all you do is make mistake or excuses, like you are never going to get there. And so I can respect the fact that you're teaching, doing all of this on top of teaching. So I can't imagine what you're going to do if you don't teach. But ultimately, I think that this is an amazing story for those of you, for two different paths here. There's the story of she's going after it. She's eventually going to make a business of this, which by the way, she's making more than most people doing this full time, or she's going to be, I can tell. And those that are like, hey, I just want to make, maybe an extra 20 grand this year. And so we can help you find a house, flip it, and then it changes your life, right? Now, once you do one, like she said, you're going to get addicted anyways. But at the end of the day, like I'm just a big advocate that you can go either route. But if you decide that, hey, I want to make a business of this, I want to go do X, Y, and Z, then what people do is they go leave their career and they don't realize the importance of building a team. And ultimately, you can only get so far ever in a business, a sport, anything that you can imagine as an individual. You have to have a core team in order to get to a championship game. Like you can't get to a championship without a team. You can't just be 1 against 5. And so, so I just think that it's important to see both sides to this, because I've just been super impressed with your work ethic along this journey. And I'm just curious, like, be honest. I know that you're working and you're working hard outside of work. Like, do you have days where you're burnt out, and how are you handling that? How are you time managing everything?
It is definitely very interesting. I'm like not just a teacher. I teach AP environmental science. I teach like high school AP science classes. I probably teach one of the hardest things you can teach. And it's time consuming, and it's my 13th year. So like, some of it is on kind of autopilot, but it's, I'm juggling a lot of things during school and my off periods. I'm doing real estate. I hope nobody from my school district is listening to this. I get home from school and it's go, go, go. So certainly there's those times of burnout, but like, then I remind myself that it's just about something bigger than this year. I've been for 2.5 years, I've been saying that I want to leave teaching eventually, but I personally need to know, I need to be solid. I need to see the consistency in income. I need to know that I'm going to be getting paid every month, and it, I can't walk away from teaching until I had that. And so, the burnout definitely happens, but mostly when you're not finding success. And with the systems and processes you put into place with you guys' help, and you start hiring a team and you trust that, everything is statistical. So as long as you trust yourself, you trust the statistics, the more if you want to get to that point where you want to leave your job, then you can do it. You just have to know that it's possible. And knowing that in the back of my head jives me. So it's while I definitely am burnt out and I am exhausted often, you know, you get those little wins, and you get a contract and you're like, yes, like, you know, like
Yeah.
projected profit this month. I mean, you hear your own projected profit, and your monthly projected profit is double your annual salary. Like, it's like, oh my God, like, I'm gonna just keep going, you know, and until your husband or your wife says, babe, over here, you know, what drives me back. But
I've been there, done that.
yeah, for sure. But you know, the ultimate goal is that
Speaking
next
of
year,
that, how are you managing that?
you know, you got to have your moments that you set aside for that person, and making time for them, and making sure they know that they're important, and that like there is an end goal. You know, for me, there's an end goal. The end goal is like June, and next year I'm gonna have like a normal job, you know, and once I hire this acquisitions manager, they're going to take over a lot of the processing, and that's probably just going to lead me to do more of something else and grow more. But that's the point, you know, and reminding them that all the awesome stuff that we do financially is because of hard work. And it still sometimes comes to a, you know, you still have to have discussions, as any relationship has challenges, but that doesn't, not a reason not to do something. And just back to your point for the newbies, you know, for people who are like scared to get involved, scared to start something like this, you don't have to quit your job, right? This is something that for 2.5 years or for 2 years I was doing just on the side, 1 to 2 deals a year, and do tripling my income, and giving me huge returns. And it was fine, you know, and for a normal person, it probably would have been fine. And there's a lot of people that do that, but I would very much encourage anybody who's going to do that. Like, flipping is not easy. Do not do it in an uneducated fashion. No, like, have a support system, know what you're doing, and don't go into anything blind, because it's very easy to lose money if you don't know what you're doing. And if you don't do anything,
Yeah,
make sure you're supportive.
I think that's important to talk about, because we actually just got out of a meeting and we're in this discussion. Because if you look back at my story, although I was in a program, it wasn't necessarily as involved as what we do with our students. And I lost $106,000 on my first flip, by the way. That's crazy. Thank the Lord I had the money from my last corporate job, because I was screwed. And ultimately, I would have never made all of those mistakes if I had somebody to call and say, should I do this or this? Should I do this or this in the beginning? Because I would have never done this dumb shit that I did in the beginning. Yeah. And then on top of it, I lost that money. And then I go into my next few flips, and I made a very bad decision to partner up with someone for all the wrong reasons. And again, I didn't have anyone to call, or if someone were to call me and say that stuff now, I'd be like, no, you are not doing this. And if you do this, I'm firing you as a student. So like, I just didn't have that person to even give me any guidance. And I just had, like, you know, it's one thing to have courses and videos, like those are great to learn the fundamentals and understand the basics. But when you actually go to take the action and do the deed, it's like, oh shit, I actually am making $10,000, $15,000 checks and 20, and like I got to pay contractors and do this and do that. And I just went for it. And although that is a little bit of my superpower, I just go. It's also hurts me sometimes, because unless I have and so I've learned my lesson over the last 7 years. And so now I have a mentor in every aspect of my life. So it's not just business. I've got, I have I have 3 business mentors. I've got a real estate mentor. I've got all these things, because the first person I'm calling before I make any major decision in my life now is them. And just today, literally, I'm in a senior leadership meeting, and we're talking about important decisions that they need from me. And I'm like, look, guys, I wish I could tell you that I have the right answer, but I've actually never done what you're asking me to do. So the old Tiffany would say, let's just do it. And I still do that to some degree, but not on as big of decisions anymore. And so I'm like, let me schedule a meeting with someone who's been there, done that. I'll have to go figure out how much the shit's going to cost me to talk to them and figure it out, because I don't want to go after these massive mistakes that I've done in the past. So
fuck it, lock it up.
Yeah, fuck it, lock it up, right? Yeah.
Um,
But anyways, I just been like, I love watching your growth. I love talking to you. I love all the questions that you and I go back and forth on in trainings. And I'm just super impressed with you because you take the action and you take what we say and you do it and don't like just you don't just ask the questions and then be like, okay, let me think on that for 3 weeks. Like you go take what we say and you take it to light. And you made a comment about like, I hope, no one's watching me in my district. And I do want to say something because ultimately the world has changed now, right? Like employers should be supportive of like when I was at Owens Corning, I started buying rentals for 5 years while I was there and I talked about it every day because I was like, guys, I have this goal over here that I want to hit outside of this job and I want your support and encouragement and empowerment because, I spend most of my day with you guys. And so I love sharing it and ultimately I wanted to make sure that my employer and my boss were supportive of me buying rentals and all this. And ultimately, because of social media, like all the new videos of side hustles and all this other shit to make money, like that's just where the world is. So ultimately, hopefully they support what you're doing outside of it. Cause at the end of the day, you're a teacher. Like the teachers in my city make like only 40 grand. So like,
that's
and
crazy.
but it'd be one thing if they didn't have like they have summers off. So they are probably making more money on the summer and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, I think that ultimately like people have to do what you have to do. And so it's all about you guys and whoever's watching this that for some reason has never done real estate, but you're interested. I don't necessarily have a product for you or a coaching program right now, but just remember that like you have control over your own life and your own destiny. And so if you're like blaming the world or other people or your family or this or that, like it's all excuses. Like the world doesn't give a shit about your excuses.
Facts.
So ultimately, I hate to be direct, but it's true. And I've been very impressed with your story. And I think that like I can't wait to hear your story in a year from now. Like I can't wait to hear the whole last 3 years story from you. So I
Me
think it'll be
too.
amazing.
Me too.
So I'm just curious, you're hiring someone, right? That starts next week and you're working full time. So how do you plan on managing the both like of the situations?
With my advice of my mentors and coaches, I definitely, at school, I make myself available as much as possible. I have my phone on me all the time. I'm texting, calling, but it's going to be a little bit different at the beginning for sure. The goal is definitely to stop teaching in June. And as long as I maintain these numbers, there's no reason I shouldn't stop teaching in June. It's definitely one of the challenges, but that's part of the job. As you're growing, there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be things to overcome, and we'll figure it out.
Yep.
Just keep it moving um, yeah.
You'll get it. I know you'll figure it out.
Yeah. I'm a sink or swim. I'm a swimmer. I'm not a sinker. So, it's, there's one option, success. And that's, it's, just make it happen.
Yep. Is there any questions, Aiden? I know that there's some questions. Oh, so just for those of you that are watching, if you're not familiar with how our program works, we have a ton of coaches in-house that work with all of our students one-on-one. We also have what we call sales pods where we coach our students actual recorded calls with sellers. We break them down, we give reports. And I always compare this to, and Nicole will appreciate this because she's an athlete, but ultimately imagine being LeBron James. Like it doesn't matter that he's the best in the game. Every single game he plays, I'm 100% confident that he has a whole coaching staff watching film with him after every game, pausing, playing, and reporting back to him on how to stay reined into the fundamentals. And so as I was getting mentored throughout the industry through multiple masterminds and all the stuff over 6 years, as I developed this program, I thought, man, what I really needed was I needed somebody on the outside to grade my calls, to rein me back into the fundamentals because we all start as a one-man show. And so especially when we're a one-man show, we need a third party to do that for us because it's not like we have a sales manager listening to all of our calls. So anyways, our coaches are the ones doing all of this. And Ace wants to know, which coach is your favorite coach?
That is like, asking who's your favorite student. You can't ask those kind of
I know.
questions.
I was like,
I
Ace,
mean,
why did you ask that?
honestly, the coaches are all awesome. I have multiple favorites. John is my coach. So he's, we get, I don't know if you guys watching, know in the small group, we get a kind of assigned our own individual coach. And then you have all the coaches at your disposal if you were to want them. But you do kind of have an individual coach so that they really get to know you, and vice versa. And John's my coach. So, I love John. I love working with him, but I certainly have some other favorites I can't say out loud, but they probably know who they are. So
that's funny. All right. So we got someone saying, let's hear about your operation. What is the marketing channels you're doing? What budget are you working on? And what's your team look like?
So right now we have a VA in the Philippines. He does kind of dispo and admin. I just brought on an acquisitions manager. Up to this point, I've been doing a lot of process calls, so inbound leads. We have a team in Pakistan that does a bunch of our marketing. We do Facebook marketing. We do some pay-per lead marketing. We do some direct mail. We're going to be bulking up our direct mail actually coming up now that we have him on. And now that we have him on, we'll have a full-time cold caller doing cold calling, and all different channels of outbound leads. But we've kind of been waiting for him to come on to do a lot of the outbound because of how many process calls, the incoming calls. Somebody needs to be there to answer the phone, and when I'm in class, I can't answer the phone, and that just looks bad. So I've been keeping myself quite busy with that, but so I actually run the majority of our projects. My team's doing 3 flips right now, presently, and I'm managing the majority of it. So the way that we have it currently, my contractor does all the work, but I'm doing materials, and I'm definitely project managing, probably too much. Probably should outsource that, but that's kind of what I enjoy most, or I very much enjoy it. So hopefully as he comes in, takes on a lot of that, the acquisition side of it, I'm able to focus more on that. And then my next hire will be a dispo manager. So really focusing on the dispo side of it instead of flipping everything, trying to bulk up our wholesales more. So that's one of my goals right now, is to get more wholesaling out. But I do all of the funding and dealing with all the funds, private lending. So since I've started with you guys, we've raised like about 800,000 private money.
Let's go.
Yeah. And it just keeps coming in, keeps on going. So.
That's awesome. So I have there's one up on the screen, but before I get to that, I have a lot of people already asking, what's the most prosperous marketing channel essentially right now? And I can help answer that as well on my end, because we're in totally different markets. I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and Kansas City, Midwestern. If you're virtual, it doesn't necessarily make sense to virtually come into the backyard and wholesale as much unless you're flipping, just because the assignment fees are only like 10 to 12 grand. But we do every channel out there. We're getting ready to launch commercials to a heavy degree. We do a lot of direct mail. And one thing, before the market shifted, we were pretty heavy on both inbound and outbound. But what we're seeing since the market shift, it is taking more leads to get a deal on the cold outbound type stuff. So we're working through that, but our direct mail and inbound stuff is crushing it for us. And obviously, anyone watching this, if you haven't done inbound, or those of you that are, it's way more enjoyable to do inbound leads. And it just helps the morale of the company. So that way you're not just filtering through 50 leads to get a deal. Essentially, you want to make sure you mix up your marketing campaigns. But anyways, what was the last one you had up, Aiden? Okay, so it looks like this person might also be from New York. But it says, talk about your experience doing deals in New York, since New York is way different than.
I think people use that as an excuse. I really do.
I
I
was
think
actually gonna
that
ask you that because I feel like I have people in New York say, "Well, I don't know if you can educate me because my market's different than the rest of the country." And I'm like, "Well, I have New York people, so I don't know. You'll have to ask them."
I have said that before. I have actually said that before. But I think like now in my more experienced brain, I just think that that's an excuse. I think that we do things a little bit differently, but most of what's different is just our process in the attorneys. So
Yeah.
after we have an accepted offer, what we do to close, and in a way, it's almost easier because not easier, just different, right? I kind of wash my hands of it. I hand it over to the attorneys, and then it's staying on the attorneys and making sure in the title company, making sure you have the relationships to ensure the deal goes through, and that's vital. Is having that proper team in place and having a solid attorney that really knows real estate, not just any real estate attorney, somebody who knows investing, somebody who knows how to wholesale, knows how to do seller financing, and has done it. Because I've definitely had a couple of nightmares in the past. But once you have a solid team, if anybody is in New York wants to connect with me, I would love to connect you. I have an incredible title company and an attorney, a couple of attorneys, but my title company just makes things smooth. But it's just about kind of, you got to remember New York, it's a little harder. Everything's higher price, blah, blah, blah. Right. But that means that you're instead of having $10,000 or $20,000 profits and needing to do 10 or 12 deals a month, I'm doing 3 deals a month at $50,000 to $100,000 in profit and making the same amount and doing less volume. So in a way, some people would say it's easier because you can do less volume. So it might be harder to get a deal, but you need less deals because the profit margin is higher. So I think
I can't stress enough that I'm really big about making sure people like, I know there's a lot of gurus out there that are like, let me get you to 6 figures in a month and 90 days or dumb shit like that. Like, it doesn't matter how many deals you do. It's about how much money you make. And not only how much money you make, but how financially stable your net margin is. And so I actually talk about this a lot, not just in our industry, but it doesn't matter what business you own. Like, let's not talk about revenue. Let's talk about our healthy net margins. And instead of saying, oh, I do 20 deals a month or I do 10 or I do whatever, it's like, who cares? I would rather do 2 or 3 deals making way more money and less headache. I don't have to have as big of a team. I don't got to, I just think that ultimately make sure you stay focused on hitting the goal over here and don't listen to the crowd of like, if they're doing 20 deals, how am I not doing that? Who cares about all of that?
Yeah, and everybody's on their own journey. It's what you're doing, be proud of what you're doing and compare yourself to yourself and what your goals are. And are you achieving your goals? I mean, it's unnecessary. Like comparing yourself to others is good in a way because you want to set goals for yourself, but it's also, you gotta keep everything in mind for your own self and make sure that it works for your life.
Yep. Yeah, I see someone commented asking how to raise private money. I actually just put out a couple reels. I know that they're short, but I literally did my whole pitch of what I say to raise money in one of my reels yesterday. So if you guys are not following me on here, follow me at Tiffany High Official on Instagram because every once in a while I'll put out private money reels. And if you scroll through my feed, you'll see a ton of private money reels. Like if you've raised 800,000, congrats. Like once you start raising money, it gets easier and easier because once somebody lends for you and they get this return and then you close with them, they're like, oh, let me go tell my aunt, uncle, my brother, my friend. And because they're just like, wow, my life just changed. I just made 1% a month in my sleep. Like, holy shit. I mean, especially someone that doesn't know what it is and then they have money sitting around, it's life changing. So anyways, I'm super proud of you. Is there any other questions you want me to put up, Aiden? Cool. I try to stick this to 30 minutes. So I'm already over. I appreciate you coming on. I know you're obviously like the most busiest student that I have, considering you're a teacher and running this and hiring people. So you should be super proud of yourself. I think it's amazing. You already know from being a collegiate athlete, like, that it takes a team to win a championship.
Right.
And so I know, and I'm confident that you understand the importance of how people will be the ones that move the needle forward. It won't be the marketing channel or this or that. It's people that move the business forward.
Yeah,
and I think that's important for everyone on here listening. Is everyone always asks, what's the best marketing channel? What's this? Look, I get it. Like, I get it, but the better the questions that we ask, the better results we get. And so we need to start thinking about who can go figure out what the best marketing channel is versus me figuring it out myself and doing it. And when I started thinking differently and obviously, guys, we all start somewhere. We're all a one-man show when we get it. But if you're already doing real estate in your one-man show, I would really challenge you to figure out the who, not the what. So anyways, I'm going to pop off here. If you guys have more questions, you're welcome to still comment them on this video on social media, and me and my team will go in and answer all of them for you. But anyways, thanks for coming on, Nicole. I super appreciate it. And I love your story. And I can't wait to bring you on in a year from now, because I think the story will just keep getting better.
Thank you. Feel free to follow me Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah. What is your Instagram handle?
Well, Facebook is Nicole Cooper. Instagram is Gem Hunter Property Solutions. GEM, everybody. You spell gem
wait,
with
say that again.
Gem Hunter. Like I hunt for gems. I actually do. I have crystals actually all over my office. Crystal. But
by
Gem
the way,
Hunter
speaking
Property
of that,
Solutions. One
of my best friends owns one of the biggest global companies in my backyard that creates crystals and gems that sends it to all of the parks around the world. So if you want to connect, I'll get you.
Do they mine?
Yeah, they mine it all.
Oh my God, you have to connect me.
Yeah, I will. I didn't know that was a thing for you.
Mining is like my favorite thing to do in
really?
life besides make money,
Yeah, let me I'll connect you with them. They're like one of my good friends growing up, and they're the ones that, like, when you go in and buy the gems and stuff at like Cedar Point and all these big parks, they're the ones that do all of it and ship them there across the world.
Oh my God, connect me. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I will.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I am grateful for you guys. Thank you so much, not only for having me on today, but for just being you guys, because you are amazing people and you're real and you are the real deal, and you create a product that nobody else has out there. So thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, guys. Peace.